Hello, my fellow marketing chums. Or better stated, if you are a marketing intern that has just joined the program and you are just getting started, you're at the right place. What we started out in coming up with an intern landing page is first a wireframe on what seemed like the best way to market your skills. And so we kind of have a hero shot here, came up with this idea to do a video interview, some testimonials, specialties, some of your skills, different work that you could specialize in, some hobbies and passions, and then an ability to get hired on Upwork, an optional blog post area, and then the footer. And then what you've done at this stage, you have likely completed your content outline. And the content outline is interesting because I first came up with this idea for Chicago Public Schools. And it's a pretty cool idea in that you just set an outline and you design landing pages, but you talk about just with bullet points, what are the things you want to talk about? And it was really nice because different people with different skills or different positions within CPS, everybody could contribute without having to worry about graphic design or user interface or website design, any of that stuff, because it really was starting with the information and some kind of an idea that if we had landing pages, what would be some of the things we would want to communicate. And that's what we did with the content outline, same kind of a thing. And here's the outline that you've been working off of, a hero image based again off of the wireframes, some about content, video interview, testimonials. If you're at that stage, then you've gotten an invite to edit your website. And we're going to look at Zach Rimbos here, and this is his website, the starter website. And so your password is your first name. And once you log in, you have the sample outline. And this is kind of I put in my information as if I were an intern. I've pre-filled it with information, so you'd have something to start with. And the other way that I do this is I usually view in Google Chrome, and then I edit in Safari. When you first log into Squarespace, you're going to get this side panel, and you've got some areas you can work on. So you've got your pages, and this is primarily where we're going to go. Design is different aspects of the website that you can design, commerce, obvious, marketing, different aspects there, scheduling, analytics, settings, blah, blah, blah. These are the most important to start out with. And so if you click on pages, we don't have any primary navigation up here because this is just a single landing page, but this is where you would add pages or links to pages. Secondary navigation is another navigation system that's underneath there. And then footer is for some footer links. Not linked is all the pages that you can create that are not really shown up in any navigation, but you can get to if you have a URL. And that's where we're starting here. So you'll notice that there are, within Squarespace, that there are different types of page types designated by the icons. This is what's called an index page, which is basically an index of subpages. And that's what gives us this ability to have these different sections, right? And if you hover over any of these, you can see this is the intro. I can edit it. I can change the banner. I've got different settings for this page. And that corresponds with this intro here. This is the hero, right? I'm hovering over. I see the hero. It can be a little confusing up at the very top because I can hover over this and edit the logo. And then I can manage the index sections. But essentially, as you hover over something, you'll see video banner interview. There it is right there. Different ways that you can edit it. And this is the basic lockup of an index page. Now, I could let's just take a look here. So intro. If I don't have any pages here, like individual pages, but let's say I take this and I drag it out. Now, when I click on that page, it's just that content, just that page by itself. But I'm going to put that back under the hero. And then if I click on that index, there it is there. I could even turn it off. If I hit this gear, that's going to give me settings for the page specifically. And down here, I can click on, I can turn off that page. So it's turned off right now. That's why we're not seeing it. But we have access to it. I'm going to turn that back on. And so the easiest way to understand on how a lot of this works is let's just go into edit mode. So I click on edit. And once in edit mode, I can just edit it, right? So I can just go in and type whatever I want. I can bold things, right? And so this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to take your content outline and start filling in your own information, right? So you just do that, and then you hit save, And that's it. That's how you're going to edit a lot of the content that's in this page form. Now, this is a hero, right? And this is called a hero, but it's like a regular page, except the difference is that it has what's called a banner. And so I've uploaded an image, a sample image here. And this is when you put a banner image up, that will put an image behind the content. This one doesn't have a banner, it has a color, but this has an image behind it. And this is a really cool feature. It's called a focal point. And when I move it around, it says basically when we go from desktop to mobile and we start to crop the image as we're changing our devices, this is the point that's going to stay in focus. So that's why it's called a focal point. It's a really nice feature. You can put images of just about any size, and you can not necessarily have to worry about how to crop them because you can always just make sure that this point of view is always in focus. But that's a banner image, and that's what we have at the hero. And this is an important image. It's going to be the first thing that people see of you, and it's hard for all of us to put our picture up there, but it's really important that we get a little more comfortable with that and try and feature ourselves. And the other part with pretty much all images in Squarespace, and for any website in that matter, is to have a portion of the image that is not going to conflict with type. And a lot of photographers, when you hire a photographer to take pictures for a client for a website, they struggle with this idea at times to understand that I need to have a portion of the image that's not going to conflict. And a lot of times that's a depth of field type of thing or different lighting. But it's important that your image has a portion of it that is not going to conflict with type that we want to put over it. So let's talk about this hero and how we can create the best option. I'm going to jump over to this program called Figma. And Figma is a graphic design program, kind of like Sketch, a bit better than Photoshop and Illustrator in terms of building for websites. And it's free for 2 users, and so this is why we build in it. And we're gonna work on these 2 images from Zach, and I'm going to show you an example of one for an intern, Mary. And this is the image that Mary had come up with for her image. And what I did was I cropped it down to this size so that when this image is larger, that the copy could fit on. So we want to have this, this focal point copy design. And so jumping over to Zach, we kind of want to do the same thing. I think I like this one, personal preference in terms of what I think we could do. So I'm going to double click on this and I'm going to hit crop. And I think that this is probably maybe what I would go with. But before we do that, I also wanted to show you a quick Lightroom example. This is probably how I would crop that. And now this is light, so I want this to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to do a little Lightroom work on this. All right, so I've added Zach here into a program called Lightroom, which is specifically designed, it's kind of like what I would say is described as painting with light. And so I think we want to get Zach over here. Let's see how this is going to work. That's probably pretty good. And then, so I'm going to show you an example. So I'm going to turn up the vibrance a little bit on here. A little bit of a vignette. Let's see here. So I'm going to go. The other thing I'm going to do is okay, so let's invert that. So we're working on the this radial tool, and now I'm going to drop the exposure down just a little bit because I've inverted that. And again, this should make the copy be able to stand out over here on the left. I think that looks pretty good. So let's see, let's export this. And here's a little before and after. All right, so we're a little bit smaller in that one, and then I'm looking at the size, 931, that's giant. So this is a program called Image Optim, and when I drag this in, it's just reduced it down by 90%. Now if I go back here to the banner, I click on banner, and again, I could either do it there, or if I go to pages and I go to the hero here and click on there, media image, and you could also do a video, which is pretty cool. And you will see how to do that. But let's put Zach's in here. I'm gonna move that focal point up there, but I still want it to be, I want him to be over to the right side. So I'm gonna leave that up there. Let's save this. Not bad. So there you go. That's how we get, that looks great. I think it looks awesome, actually. So that's it. That's how we're doing it. All right, so the hero's looking awesome. You know how to edit this. And so let's talk about this video section. Now we're gonna record this interview with you individually, but I wanna show you how this works just in general because it's a really great feature. It's called a video banner. And as I showed you at the top with the hero, if you click on banner, what you're gonna see here is actually a video, and we can use Vimeo. You need Vimeo Pro in order to use Vimeo, but you can use YouTube as well. And so we can pop any video up behind that, is that we can put our text in and edit those on top of the video. Now we've got something different here, and we've got this summary block. And if I click on summary, if I click on this, what I'm gonna find out is that it's part of a gallery, right? And so let me explain what that is and why we're doing that. I gave you some examples of pages, right? We've got an index page, and then we've got these pages there. But we also have this thing called galleries. And galleries are typically images with titles and descriptions, but they can also be videos. When we click on a gallery, it's going to be different in that we can pop in a bunch of images. So here's a gallery of my work, right? So I've got a video, I've got an image that's linked over to a blog, another video. And so we can upload images and then do different things with them. In Squarespace, go back to here. If I edit this section, which is this interview, when you're in any kind of a page, you have these little handlers here. And when you click on them, you can add something. Now I can add text, I can add quotes, all kinds of great stuff, right? And we can add galleries or image layouts. Now gallery blocks are a little bit different than gallery pages in the sense that we put a block in, we add a bunch of images, and they kind of live on the page as their own thing. But because we've created a page called a gallery, what we can do is we can use a summary to call up that gallery. And that's what this is here. It's a summary actually. And when we edit it, we can see it's pointing to the Gary Dennis interview gallery page. And then we have a specific layout. We can set the width. We can, and we'll get into the details of this later, but we can turn things on, show excerpts, all this kind of stuff. So a summary is kind of like a view of a gallery, but we're using this in particular. And what you'll notice is that it's a play button because if I go back to the gallery of the Gary Dennis interview, and again, it's denoted by that little graphic symbol there. If I click on it, what I have here is it looks blank. And the reason why it's blank is that if I hit that gear, it's because I've got a blank image here, and then I've got this Vimeo video. Now, when there's a blank image, now I can, it's not, this one is blank in particular. Typically, I can put my own thumbnail. I don't have to use the thumbnail that comes from Vimeo or YouTube, but I'm specifically putting a blank one because what I want, and if you put a blank one in, Squarespace is going to do, it's going to put a play, its own play button on top of it. And so that's the idea. Let's go back over here to Zach's page. And so when it's like this and it's a summary, again, this is just kind of a nuance of Squarespace on how to use the tools. But when I click on it, it opens up the video in a full screen format. So there's different ways that you can deploy video. In this case, we wanted to catch our visitors' attention with the video running as a banner, but we want them to watch it and listen to it. So that's how we use that little trick. That's about all I want to talk about, just so you kind of have a sense of how that's edited. We'll cover this again about this video and this interview, but this is done to, pretty early on in the page so that people will want to click, and then they'll get to know you if we have a little video interview and we're doing these Zoom videos, because they're really easy to do now. And again, we want our visitors to meet you as much as possible. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this testimonials. Now, testimonials are really good for any client. They say that, we can market ourselves, but when we put something up that somebody else said about us, that's the best marketing you could ever have. And so we want everybody to get at least 2 testimonials. That's the goal, because then we can have this little slideshow. We want to get a face in there. And again, with marketing, what I noticed with a lot of companies is they really struggle with getting faces up to get some kind of a really personal connection between the visitors and their organization. So you don't have to have a picture of somebody, but it is really good if you can do that. Going back to the editor here, I'm going to scroll down, and what I'm going to introduce to you is something that I'm calling Squarespace hacks. And these are little JavaScript and CSS code that I've developed, which customize Squarespace a bit. And so here's like testimonials. So if I click on testimonials, what it's showing is that it gives you a little description of what the testimonials are. It gives you some instructions about what to do. And there's some little tricks that you can do stuff. And here's some examples of how this happens. Going back to here, this kind of carousel is not a common Squarespace tool. So what it is that it's a typical, and again, a lot of times you can edit content, just click on and edit it. But when you edit a summary like this is, you can't just edit this, because the summary is really kind of like a snapshot of a gallery. So you have to edit the underlying gallery. So if I click on summary, I see, oh, this is the Testimonials Gary Ricky gallery. If I go to layout, this is where I can control certain things, like what's the aspect ratio of the images, column width, whether it's a grid, a list, right? I can have I can show how many items. I can show different things. Let's say I just want to turn off the thumbnail. I can do that. I can turn off the excerpt. Right here are tags, right? So primary metadata, that's one of them, and then I can have secondary metadata. I don't have anything there, but here what I'm showing is tags. Now this is how we're doing a Squarespace hack, is by the different tags. And I've got these different tags that you can put in here. And if we go back here, you'll see the tags. This _EIT means display this as the excerpt, image, and then title. That's the order that I want you to show this in. Testimonial says I want you to format this with a quote sign. And then this _image image max says don't allow the images to be any bigger than a certain size. So typically, if I didn't have these, this would be your standard Squarespace summary. And this is what a typical Squarespace summary looks like. Instead, because those tags are in there, it turns it into this thing. It puts little circles around there, around the images, and again, this is how it normally looks. So to edit this, what I do is I look again to the content, and it's the Testimonials Gary Ricky, so I can cancel this, I can cancel that. And then if I go down to Testimonials Gary Ricky, if I click on that, here's my images, right? And then if I click on this, now this will allow me to edit the image, which I don't really do too often. I usually edit this outside, but that's what that pencil's for. I can delete this. I can drag the order, right? Really easily. I can set the focal point. But here, when I click on this gear, this is where I can put the title, and I can put the description. In the particular editing tags that I had put in place for a testimonial, I'm using the title as the who, and I'm using the description as the testimonial. And then if I scroll down and I go to tags, I've added these tags. You can add new tags if you want. I can just do that, and it's a new tag, right? So you can dynamically add tags, but I'm specifically have wrote this little Squarespace hack to look for these types of tags and do stuff with the content. And then the last thing I want to show you is that, let's say you want to keep something up, but you don't want to show it. You can click on status, and I can change it to draft. And if I save this, notice how it's there. Go back here, and now all we have is one testimonial. So that's how we can turn off a testimonial. Now going back to this status, let's turn that back on to published. Save that. So this is what you want to do for your testimonials. Is you'll click on here, you'll remove the image, You'll drag your image in there. You'll put your own title and description, and that's it. That's your testimonial. Now, I do want to say that the key thing with this is to have these images square. So let's look at what Zach had given us. So Zach had given us this testimonial here. He's already circled it. He wouldn't have to. It's not required. I typically set it up so that you don't have to do that because that's a little extra work for somebody to do. Now, if you also notice, it's giant. 2.1 meg is huge. What we're going to do here is the way you would make a square image circular with a Squarespace hack that I've written is you go -CIRC. Right here. Sorry, I made a mistake. So I'm going to go _CIRC. So it turns into a circular. That's what's going to add CIRC to the file name of any image you upload to turn a square image into a circular one. So now in Figma, I've got this image and it is square. I can see that this is 1493 by 1493, but we want to export this as a JPEG, and I can do a little preview. Right, one time, that's good. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to use the name I named that frame. So that. Now I'm going to go back here, 844, a lot smaller, but still big. Let's run it through Image Optim. Down by 88%. That's what we want. Let's go get that image. Drop that in. There's our image. We hit save. Let's go back. Reload this page. There we go. And that's how we change the image. That's, we can update this, that. So that's our testimonials, and that's how we edit that section. All right, fun doesn't end there. We're just getting going here. Let's go to the next section, which is skills. So this, like the other sections, is just kind of an important area to kind of to talk about what your skills are. In this case, I've got JavaScript and interview and hosting. I should state that the overall presentation of this landing page design is to kind of layer information in a way that it's not overwhelming and people can engage it as they want. So that's why this carousel is nice. It's by design, it's going automatically until you hover over it, then it'll stop and then you can engage it. So that's what that is now. Mad skills. All right, so looks similar to the other summaries, right? So if I click edit, it's a summary again, right? And so it's not using a gallery this time. This time it's using a product. And I'm doing this because we can use either galleries, products, or blog posts to do a similar type of summary of content, right? And so this is looking at the skills Gary Ricky. So I'm going to go back so I'm going to scroll down here. So here's our galleries, here's our products. So products are used for e-commerce typically, but sometimes they're nice to use for other different options. And so what's nice about products that's different from galleries or blogs is that I can have lots of different elements and I can drag the order. With blogs, you can't drag the order because it's done by date. And with galleries, you can drag the order, but it's just an image. And then you've got to edit everything underneath. Whereas here, we've got a little bit more, I can see the title and everything. So it's just a little bit different and enough of a difference that I like to use these for different cases. And in this case, for the skills, for my skills and for your skills. The title and this short summary, we're not using any of the other fields. We're not using any tags or anything. It's just, this is where we're kind of displaying our skills. So this is where you're going to want to add new ones. And this is a digital product, right? So if I wanted to add, now you could do a couple of things. I could do this. I can edit this as your own, but I could duplicate this as well. And duplication is nice because once you have a setup of a certain way with tags and whatnot, like the testimonials, it's good to duplicate something. That way all the tags are already set up and then change out the assets. So duplicating is nice, but this is editing a digital product. And, because if I add a new product, I've got physical, digital service, or gift card. We're using the digital product. So that's the differentiation. And, but that's it. There's nothing more to that other than in the skills. Now, I do want to point this out. So if I'm going back here to the skills, now the way we turn this into a carousel. Let's take the Testimonials Gary Ricky for this section here. So if I click on the gear here for that gallery, notice it has this underscore slick. Slick is the name of that type of carousel called a slick carousel. And so just by adding it to the gallery name, we'll turn that into a slick carousel wherever you use it. Here's our products, right? So if I go to the gear, as opposed to clicking on it and seeing the products, again, there's that slick. So you can turn any gallery, product, blog into one of those carousels by adding this slick. So that's what we're doing here, is that here, when you're in admin mode, you're seeing just the regular summary. So if I edit this summary, I see the product, I see which content it's pointing to. Layout doesn't really matter. I've chosen a carousel because of the slick option that's been assigned to it. It really doesn't matter which one of these we use because it'll turn into a slick carousel. This featured text doesn't really matter either because, again, that hack is kind of rebuilding this into that carousel. Here we're just showing the title and the excerpt, and that's it. That's all we're doing to turn these mad skills. So that's how you edit that content. My work is a similar, so if I go to my work, this is more of your traditional Squarespace summary. So I've got these little arrows where I can go through these. And so if I edit this, you notice again, another summary. And summaries are nice because because the visitor can scroll through lots of content without leaving the page. If I click on edit, I see it's my work, Gary. Now this stuff matters because it's not a slick. We're not hacking this, so this stuff matters. So layout, I've got a 3:2 standard on the image. Oh, let's change it to a 4:3. See how it's cropping it in a different way? See, that's kind of the control you have. I've chosen that. I can show 3 or 4 if I want to do 4. I'm going to show 3. I like the images to be big. I can set my text size, content alignment to left. You can change all that. In the display, now this can change, right? I can turn this into a wall. Carousel is what I like because I want people to scroll through. It could be a list like that. It can be a grid. But I'm going to go with carousel here. So this is all standard Squarespace gallery type of summaries of galleries. And then the display, how many items we want to show, what things do we want to show. We're not showing date or anything. We could show date, category tags, author, or location. Those are data that can be stored against the gallery items and then shown. And we can also filter by tags. Let's say we just wanted to drag this gallery into a page and only show some of a particular tag. We could easily do that, or feature. But we're not doing any of that. We just have a standard gallery, and that's it. That's the My Work section. All right, the next section I want to show you, possibly the most important, and it's the Upwork. How do you get paid? This is a standard text and button option, but this is the call to action, as they say, is that we wanted to, go through the page. We do have a specific order of operations, right? We want to talk to them. We want them to read this thing, and we want them to feel like, yeah, I can help you. We want them to understand, this is digital marketing, blah, blah, blah. Quick intro, then we have video, testimonials, trust building. Oh, what kind of skills do they have? And then let's get to this higher point. So this is pretty straightforward stuff. Adding some text blocks, stating what the hour is, and then we have this button. And this button will take you through to you put your click-through URL, size of the button, right? And that's it. So that's the call to action. And then the final thing we're doing is hobbies, which through all the different interns that have been posting this information, this has turned out to be one of my favorite sections because you really seem to get to know somebody. So this is another version. Well, now this is a little bit different in the sense that it's a gallery. It's not a summary, right? And so as a gallery, when I edit it, it's a gallery block, right? It's not a gallery page, but a gallery block. And so with these, I just add all these images. And then with a particular image, I can click on the gear and then edit the title and the short description. I'm not using any kind of a click-through URL, right? So that's how I can drag the order of those things, and that's it. Now the design is, time, transition time, previous controls. I'm not showing thumbnails. If I wanted to, I could put the thumbnails on the bottom. I'm not showing those there, but you could if you'd like. and then, where's the title and description? It's over there. And that's it. It's just some visuals and some good descriptions. And again, I would highly suggest, spend some time on this. I don't know. The things I've learned with the other interns really made a big impact on me, and I feel they'll make a big impact on customers. And then just a little overview of your passions and the kind of hobbies that you do. And that's it. That's our intern landing page and how you edit it. And that should be a good amount of information to get you rolling, and then be happy to help you out through that process. But give it a shot and let's see what you come up with.